members of the website. We have a beautiful player here, Dan Tepfer. He's really made the connection between harmony and rhythm the way we've been talking about it, you know, with Efren Toro and Alex Acuna and the cats that really understand this stuff. Dan, I came across your website like almost by accident because we played together one time, and of course I knew you that way. But then I saw all the stuff you're doing. You want to talk a little bit about your concept, maybe how you came across that connection? Like, what's the first thing that made you think about it?
Well, you know, I've been a big math nerd since I was a kid. My undergrad's in physics, and I love programming computers. So I've been aware for a very long time that obviously a pitch is sound vibrating at a certain number of cycles per second. Right. I remember years ago when I was I think I was in my first year of college. I was hanging out with a friend, and he mentioned that some classical composers, and I realized afterwards he was talking about Stockhausen, had done things where they take, you know, a sine wave, for example, and just slow it down so much that you start hearing it as rhythm, which is actually something that happens pretty frequently in our everyday experience. You know, like when you hear a motorcycle starting up, you start hearing it as and then you start hearing a pitch, right? So that idea had always been in the back of my mind, and then about, I don't know, 6 years ago or something like that, I started getting into Super Collider, which is this programming environment for music. It's kind of like Max MSP, but in pure code rather than having visual interface to it. And I realized really shortly after getting into it that with this program I could easily do this thing that I talked about with my friend, you know, in my late teens, which was take a pitch and then just slow it down or speed it up, you know, all the way down to the time scale of rhythmic events and all the way up to the time scale of pitch perception. And then it occurred to me pretty quickly that you could have two pitches together, right? So you could take a major third, for example, and slow it down to where it was rhythm. And you know, you can obviously just do that, but you can also figure out what the ratios are pretty easily from the harmonic series, right? So if you have that as your fundamental, then the octave, which is the first harmonic, let's call that the second partial, is vibrates twice as fast, right? So if this is, I don't know what frequency that is, that might be around 100 hertz or something, in that ballpark. If that's 100, then this is 200, and then the next partial, third partial, be vibrating 3 times that speed. So that's the fifth here will be 300 hertz, and then the next one 4 times that speed, that rate I should say, which will be 400 hertz, etc. This is 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 11 times, although that one starts to get really out of tune there. So the pitch that I'm playing on the piano isn't quite right. Then 12 times, of course, because that's just 3 times 4, etc. So the point is, you could take a major third, say, and you realize from that harmonic series that in the time that this one's vibrating 4 times, this one's vibrating 5 times. So in other words, that's a relationship of 5 to 4, right? So it's just 5 to 4, right? So literally, you take this, and you know, I did this on that blog post where I was talking about this, and you slow it down, and first you hear it as pitch, and you slow it down, and you hear it as that rhythm, 4 to 5. And you know, if you do a minor third, that's 6 to 5. And you can get all these really fascinating rhythms.
So you have the rates in your head, like already memorized?
Well, I can figure it out very quickly because I can see the harmonic series in my mind pretty quickly, right? So all I need to remember is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty much all I need to remember. Then I know if there's a major third, or this one, whatever, they're all the same, right? Major third's a major third. This fits into the harmonic series that has as its root that E flat there, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's 5 against 4.
That's amazing.
To me, it doesn't seem amazing at all. It seems very simple.
I know, we're like drummers because we think we have a brain that you know, making when you start to make this connection, to us is like, holy moly, you know, that is cool. That's really.
It really is cool. I think
Yeah.
it really is cool. You know, and the fun thing, and this is something I do on that blog post, is if you look at like a major triad, those are ratios of 6 to 5 to 4, and so you can play that rhythm as well.
Can you actually play it somehow? 6 to against 5.
Yeah, actually, I have a few friends who've play these on drums, because this is 6 to 5 to 4, and then this minor triad is 10 to 12 to 15. And I wrote these out on the blog post in notation, so you can do. It's actually not.
We're gonna have
it's
a,
actually not
have
so
a
bad.
link for you guys to Dan's blog, so don't worry.
It's actually not, you know, terribly difficult for a good drummer. You know?
I guess you gotta hear it. I mean, the thing is, you know, what's a good drummer? You know, there's so many things that makes up a good drummer, but
Right.
hearing this kind of new information is where the challenge is. I mean,
Totally, yeah. I should qualify that. It's not so much being a good drummer. It's more like being a drummer who's like really nerdy about these types of rhythms and their interactions. You know.
Right.
So I mean, if I you know, I've practiced this a little bit, playing the harmonic series rhythms just on the piano on my own. You know, if this is my fundamental. Okay, so that's vibrating once per whatever time interval. Then this next one vibrating twice, right? The octave. That's vibrating twice as fast. So twice in the same time. Then this next one 3 times. Sorry, let me get that right. So, here we go. So that's 3 times. And then the next one will vibrate 4 times. And the next one 5 times. And then this one 6 times. Etc. and 7 times. So what's fun about that is that, you know, they're rhythms, but they're also exactly what's being expressed by the harmonies themselves, right? So if I just play that.
Wait a minute. That's deep, okay? That's deep. So what Dan said is those are rhythms, but it's what's being expressed by the harmonies, right, themselves. So that's the actual notes, what that chord, what the notes are doing individually, but also as a chord.
Yeah.
Okay, so for drummers, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's really simple, you know. It's
He says.
an octave relationship is 2 to 1,
Right.
and the perfect fifth relationship is 3 to 2. So that's actually happening in the vibrations of the tones. So what I was just playing, this, that relationship of 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, that's already happening in the vibration of the notes themselves. Right. So what we're doing there, doing it rhythmically and harmonically at the same time, that's a little bit like you know, sensory overload or something, or
Like representing 2 dimensions at the same time, rhythm and
well,
or sound. Or
it's like
harmony.
representing the fundamental thing, which is actually just a numerical ratio, right, in 2 different time scales at once.
Right.
Because what's kind of fascinating about the human ear is that we can perceive rhythmic relationships at two really different time scales. There's this time scale of like conscious perception, which is, I perceive those as separate events, right? Perceive those all as separate events, and it could even be, pretty fast, like ding, 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 or even faster than that. I can still perceive this rhythm, but there's a limit. And on that blog post, you go through that limit and you can hear it transition. There's a limit where it ceases to sound like rhythm to us and starts to sound like pitch. But pitch is still our ear basically counting the number of vibrations per second that the air is making. So it's still measuring tempo, if you like, but at a much faster vibration.
When you say the ear, that's how it operates. When you listen to a note, that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's listening to, calculating the rhythm.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, in an abstract sense, it is calculating the rhythm. But what's really happening is that you have all these little hairs in your cochlea, each one of which is tuned to vibrate at a specific frequency. Right. And when that hair vibrates, your ear, or your brain gets the information that a certain pitch is happening, right? But, so the process is different, obviously, of perceiving rhythm at this speed and perceiving, this is an octave, by the way, 1 to 2, right? Right. And perceiving this. The process of perception is different, but at the end of the day, since I'm able to listen to this and say, oh, that's an octave, meaning one is vibrating twice as fast as the other, I'm actually doing the same thing at two really different time scales.
That's unbelievably interesting. Really, really amazing. I love that stuff. I guess I'm a nerd.
Well, I definitely am.
So what are your thoughts about? Well, first, okay, one question. No matter how high the octaves go, they're still at twice the speed.
Yeah.
Even if you're down there and up here.
Yeah. So I want to talk about one thing, which is tuning systems here, right? Because if you look at a piano, actually, even the octaves aren't quite exactly twice. Especially when you get high, they get stretched.
Right.
And low. There's when you tune a piano, it's a standard thing that you do, that you stretch the upper and the lower register. It's called the stretch of the tuning. Right. So in other words, in those zones, it's not even going to be exactly 2 to 1. But then if you look at other intervals, so for example, a major third, which is supposed to be 5 to 4, right? In equal temperament, which is what modern pianos are tuned to and what modern guitars are tuned to, it's not 5 to 4. It's actually way smaller. Way bigger, way sharper. So you can actually hear it if I play this interval on this piano. You can hear a lot of conflict in there, and I've written programs where you can compare equal temperament, an equal tempered major third to a just intonation major third, which would be exactly 5 to 4, and they sound dramatically different.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not true that this on this piano is exactly 5 to 4. It's actually sharper than that.
I see. You must have absolute right tuning, like on a computer or something, for it to be exact ratio.
Sure. Well, but you can also tune a piano to be pretty much exactly 5 to 4. Yeah. But the problem is, if you do that, you can't play in different keys. There's a whole history of the development of these tuning systems, and it used to be that people, understandably, wanted to have thirds that actually sounded beautiful, the way that a perfectly tuned 5 to 4 major third sounds, right? But the problem is, you do that, and then you have an octave which is supposed to have 3 major thirds in it, right? So that's a major third, that's another major third, and that's another major third. If you tune each one of those to 5 to 4, you end up with something that is, well, we can do the math, right? So that's going to be 5. If this one's 1, then this is 5/4 times that, right? And then this next one is going to be 5/4 times 5/4 times that, which is 25 sixteenths, right? And then this next one is going to be 5/4 times that again. So that's going to be
times the original note, or
times this times the A flat.
Okay.
Right. So what did I say with the 25 sixteenths?
Yeah.
Right. So 5/4 times that is going to be 125. 16 times 4 is 64. So 125 64ths, which, as you can see, is smaller than an octave, because an octave would be 128 64ths.
You lost me, but I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about.
No, but I mean,
I understand.
64 times 2 is 128. Right? But I just did the math of what happens if you stack 3 just intonation major thirds, and you get 125 64ths.
Okay.
So you get something that's smaller than an octave.
And that's when you play it, it's the same thing? It's not a real octave, or what?
No. This is the whole point of equal temperament,
Okay.
is that you get the octaves right.
Mm.
And so then you stretch everything in between
I see.
so that it works out to the octave. So that's why these major thirds on the piano are sharper than the just intonation thirds. So I don't know exactly what the ratio is for equal temperament major third. I can find out, but it's larger than 5/4. So in other words, this is 5/4 major third in just intonation, but the one that's on the piano, this one's going like a little faster.
Right.
It's a little faster, and it's not exactly 5/4. So
that's beautiful stuff, man.
So yeah. So, if you look at the very foundational building blocks of harmony, that's the physics of the harmonic series, right? Which is what we were talking about before, which is that if you have a vibrating string or a vibrating column of air, in an instrument, or any kind of vibration, just by the kind of basic reality of what a vibration is, the material that is vibrating, and be it the air or a string, whatever, will also be vibrating in halves, in thirds, in fourths, in fifths, in sixths, etc., with decreasing energy. So the fundamental, the one that's vibrating at the rate of that note, is going to be the loudest, and then this one, which is vibrating twice as fast, is going to be a little softer. This one, which is vibrating 3 times as fast, a little softer again, a little softer, a little softer, a little softer, etc. Okay? So that's just fundamental to physics. Anytime you have any pitch, all those other sounds are happening within it. Okay. So that's the basics. Those are the basics that's the basis of harmony, right? And in other words, a real major triad is the one that occurs here, 2 octaves above the fundamental in the harmonic series. Okay, and so a real major triad, real quote unquote, in physics, is relationships of 4 to 5 to 6. Okay, but turns out there's a lot of leeway in our ears. You don't have to be exactly 4 to 5 to 6. You can be a little out of tune, and we'll still perceive it as a major triad. So on this piano, for example, or on any modern piano, it's tuned in equal temperament, which, as I was explaining before, allows you to play in different keys, and it's not 4 to 5 to 6. It's a little off from that, pretty close, but a little off. And so that, of course, makes a different rhythm, and that would be a rhythm that no one could play on the piano. Whereas in just intonation, it's these perfect relationships of 4 to 5 to 6, which you can totally play as rhythm.
Amazing. I've talked about this at length with Efren Toro as well. I'm sure you guys know. You know Efren?
Not personally.
Okay, yeah. He's also blew my mind. When I was 21, he started getting me into this stuff many years ago. And it was just utterly amazing. I think for drummers, it just captivates our interest because, like the connection between harmony and rhythm, it makes you as a drummer start to think differently. What you're representing.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right. It's like if I'm doing 3 to 2, I'm doing which is like super basic rhythm of a lot of the music that we play, especially you with the Latin stuff.
Right.
That's a perfect fifth.
Amazing.
that's that. So that can be interesting to think about, I think.
Right.
And it can also be interesting compositionally.
Right, totally. Are you hip to the 3-bar cycle?
In what way?
Rhythmically. 3-bar cycle is the most prominent cycle in jazz for drummers. Right? And for everybody, actually. So the 3-bar cycle is 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, right? 3 bars.
Mm-hmm.
So 1, 2, 2.
Oh yeah, with dotted quarters. Yeah. Yeah, if you do dotted quarters, it's going to work out in 3 bars. Yeah.
3-bar cycle. Is there any harmonic representation to that?
Yeah, I mean that's. Let me think about that. I mean, that is 3-2. You know.
Yeah. This particular perspective of the cycle is what every bebop drummer uses in the phrasing.
Right.
Only in 8-bar structures or 16 or whatever. But it would be interesting to know what chord that is or whatever. What the.
Well, okay, we can work this out.
Okay.
So if you're doing
1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1.
If you're doing that, then this one is let's see, let's work this out. It's going 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 times in that 3-bar cycle.
Okay.
And the one that's on the beat obviously is going 4 times, 3 times, which is 12.
Okay.
So
how are you counting that though? 1, 2, 2, 2, 3.
No, I'm
2,
counting
1.
how many times
This
those.
hits.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
No, you're not. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1.
1, 2, 2.
No, it's faster than that.
2. Sorry. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 2.
No, it's much faster than that. Well, I'll count it with you. I'll count it. You just do it.
1, 2, 2.
Well, start again. So I'm ready.
1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Okay, I see what you're doing.
I'm just counting those.
You're counting this one, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So that's 16 in the 3-bar cycle, right?
Okay.
And the other one obviously is 12 because it's just quarter notes, right? So that's 16 to 12, which is 3-2, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's 4-3. Sorry.
4-3, depending
4-3.
on your perspective.
Yeah. So it's 4-3, and 4-3 is a perfect fourth. That's 4-3. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm glad we worked out the math.
That's incredible stuff.
Which is easy to figure out because if you look at the harmonic series starting on C here, then the second partial is this one, third partial is this one, which vibrates 3 times as fast as the fundamental, and fourth partial is this one, which vibrates 4 times, right? So the relationship between these two is 4-3.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
So that's what you were just playing.
That's pretty amazing.
So if I do this, there's a similar thing happening within the vibrations of each one of those tones, where they're working out every 3 bars of the slower vibrating one, which is this one. Or a more accurate way of saying it is that every 12 vibrations of this low one and every 16 vibrations of this top one, they come out to the same place together.
Awesome, man.